let's take you to the Supreme Court now. Application for an interlocutory injunction on the e-levy has been unanimously dismissed by the Supreme Court. Now, some minority members of parliament, as we do know, including their leader, Haruna Idrisu, last month filed an application for an injunction to restrain the Ghana Revenue Authority from implementing the controversial electronic transactions levy. However, today's attempt to halt that process and the rollout of the e-levy before the determination of the case has failed. Kweku Asante joins me now, my colleague monitoring all of the events today. Kweku, first of all, let's start off with the background to this. What's the demand really of the minority with regard to the e-levy?
So, Blessed, we know that when Parliament passed the e-levy bill, the minority staged a walkout. And then they proceeded to go to the Supreme Court to argue that the NPP majority did not have the required numbers to pass the e-levy. We know that on the floor that day, after the minority staged the walkout, were 136 MPs, plus the MP for the Chieftaincy Minister Kojo Kum, who was in the presence of Parliament. The Speaker ruled that he was in Parliament on the day. So the contention of the minority is that, per an earlier ruling of the Supreme Court in the Justice Abdullahi case, the Parliament needed 138 MPs at least to make the determination. Right. So they went to court to seek an annulment of the passage of the e-levy. And before Parliament would go into the substantive issue, the minority MPs wanted the Supreme Court to restrain government, the GRA, and its technical partners from going ahead with the implementation of the e-levy.
And we need to state that that's happening because the case would have been heard today,
yes,
whereas the implementation of the e-levy started about 2 or 3 days.
3 days ago. That was on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And so they filed for an interlocutory injunction, right, which was also scheduled for today. So in court today, the substantive case, they did not go so much into it. They dealt with the interlocutory injunction that the NDC MPs had filed. Mm-hmm. So the judges who sat on the case, Justices Nene Amegacha, Professor Ni Ashikote, Maria Mawusu, Avril Lovelace Johnson, Gertrude Tokuno, Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, and Yoni Kulendi.
In all 7?
Yes, they made up the 7-member panel, right, presided over by Justice Nene Amegacha. Right. So the court went into the injunction application that had been moved, and the argument that was made by the NDC, led by Eduji Tamaklo in court, was that per the balance of convenience, if the court were to allow the Ghana Revenue Authority to go ahead and implement the e-levy, then some sort of burden would have occasioned the ordinary Ghanaians who would have paid the e-levy, and they would not have any reprieve in terms of getting their money back. Right. The Attorney General shot back and said that, well, if the argument is that Parliament did not have the numbers, and we are about to go into the substantive matter, if government goes ahead and collect the e-levy, and the Supreme Court decides later on that the e-levy was not properly passed, all the court will do is to order government through GRA to refund the monies back. And so the court did what they call the balancing of the convenience and came to the conclusion that if they granted this injunction, what will happen is that government is going to lose revenue in the case the substantive case is dealt with and they find that the bill was passed properly. Right. Because government will not have any recourse, right, to get this money back. Right. On the other hand, if the court is to hold at the end of the day that the e-levy was not properly passed, but government has already started collecting the tax, then all e-levy would have to do, all the government and the GRA has to do is to pass that money back to the specific persons they deducted the money from. Right. So that was the substance of the arguments that the Supreme Court advanced in holding this. But what they also did was to hold that whatever Parliament does, the presumption of regularity imposes on the court the duty to act in a manner that says that until you prove with substantive evidence that what Parliament did was irregular, then the court will not listen to you. And so at the end of the day, the court looked at these two arguments and decided that it will not grant the application for injunction, but that the Ghana Revenue Authority should keep all the records of the taxes they will deduct in case they make adverse findings against the GRA. Then GRA can use that data to pass on the money to the consumers. Well,
Kweku Asante, I'm grateful for the latest update. Minority Leader himself, Haruna Idrisu, has been speaking to the media after today's ruling.
Some irreparable damage or hardship will be caused. Our hardship, as we understand it, is the disrespect to the Constitution by the action of passage into law of an Act 1075, with numbers below the minimum constitutional threshold of 138 members of parliament. Can you imagine? I heard the Attorney General laboriously arguing that it was a voice vote. So Ebenezer Kum voted with his voice from an ambulance, or he voted with his voice from a clinic to add to the voice vote. And he is insisting that 266 members of parliament participated in the decision and participated in the motion. 266 members of parliament, after the minority of 136 walked out. Certainly, these are matters that the Ghanaian public can get better. But what is refreshing and heartwarming today is the second part of the ruling, which gives directives to the Ghana Revenue Authority to preserve and keep the money. At least some people will not be in a rush to collateralize it until the substantive matter is determined. For us, we raise this matter because it's of public interest significance, it's of constitutional significance, and we think that we'll pursue it to its logical conclusion. So we are very happy with the performance of our lawyers. We only pray that Ghana is not going to have two sets of laws. One that serves and protects the elected elite of a ruling government, and one that serves the political minority of an opposition. Judicial notice of our walkout, they walked out. They walked out when the budget was rejected. You know the numbers. It was 274. We're not told that quorum for decision was 274, as we have been told somewhere in someone's argument, at least not the court, that 266 passed the motion. What you people should note is that in parliamentary practice, the fact that you took a motion through second reading did not mean that at consideration and third reading, you didn't require minimum numbers. We still uphold the principle. At least Jesse Question was marked absent from the record that we